tonight's video, we'll be looking at creepy and scary TikToks that you should not watch before bed.
Oklahoma's scary urban legends. Spook Like Road, located in the small town Peoria, is a road in America where you are bound to encounter something you really don't want to. Specifically named East 50th Street, this stretch of road is said to have an unexplained light appearing over the sky in different shapes to different people. Some believe it's supernatural activity, while others believe UFOs. It was such a popular place during the 40s that during World War II, the US Army Corps of Engineers spent weeks in the area with the best technology, but in the end of the day, they had more questions than they had answers. This unexplained light has been debunked on different sources, with claims of a person holding a lantern or even a person on a horse holding a lantern. But from the photos, what do you guys think about this?
Here are 3 real ways to slay a dragon and live to tell the tale. So you've encountered a dragon, probably the most infamous and dangerous cryptid in history. You don't want to wind up as a barbecue. The question is, what can you possibly do to survive this encounter? Well, first, you'll need to identify what kind of dragon you're dealing with. Almost every culture has recorded a dragon story in their mythos. Different dragons have different abilities and shortfalls, and the more you know about your enemy, the greater your chance of survival.
Do y'all think dragons are real? I mean, they're all in like history books, people have drawn them, and like he said, someone always recalls a different type of dragon, so what if they are real out here and they're just like hiding or something right now and about to come out at a certain year, and like, I don't know, that would be wild if dragons were for real, like on some Game of Thrones type stuff.
Which brings me to my next point. If you have time to prepare, research the dragon's weakness beforehand. Most dragons are over 1,000 years old and very well documented. And although this will be a very challenging fight either way, it will be almost impossible to win if you don't know the entity's weakness beforehand. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, stop relying on outdated weaponry to get the job done. As cool as it might sound to face off against a dragon with your sword or medieval weapon of choice, we're in the 21st century now. We've evolved. Use that to your advantage. Comment how you would survive this fight, and follow.
Top 3 creepy last words people said right before dying. Laura said that she was working a night shift job as an aide, caring for a lady with terminal cancer on hospice at home. The lady was starting to slip, so Laura woke up her family, 2 girls and a DH. They were all sitting around. She was pretty quiet and peaceful. All of the sudden, she looked towards the door and said, "Rex? Rex? You're here for me. I'm ready and they won't let me go."
So is it just me, or do you guys notice these subliminal flashes that keep flashing after every video or in between all the videos? I know it ain't just me tripping. I know it ain't just me.
Laura then saw a shadowy figure come into the room and felt the creepiest evil spirit. She said that she's not normally spooked, but she was so glad when it was time for her to go home. She said that she turned to watch the spirit and the family was looking at her like, "What are you looking at?" The lady died later that day. A nurse said that she was helping another nurse with a patient who had lived a very hard life. He had numerous things going on with him, from cardiac to renal failure. This man was very much afraid to die. Every time his heart monitor beeped, he would go into a rage, screaming, "Don't let me die! Don't let me die!" She and the other nurse found out why he didn't want to die. About 0200, his cardiac monitor started alarming VTAC. The nurses both rushed into the room. When they got to the room, the man was floating about 2 inches above his bed, and he was laughing. His whole look had completely changed. His eyes just had a look of pure evil in them, and he had this evil smile on his face. He laughed at the nurses and said,
"You stupid aren't going to let me die, are you?"
Then he laughed again. They were kind of frozen. One of them hit the code blue button, and then the man went into VFib. He crashed back onto the bed. They started coding him, but after 20 minutes it was called. 5 minutes after the code was called, several of the code team were in the room cleaning up, when this man sits straight up on the bed and says,
"You let him die. Too bad.
He then laughed and collapsed back onto the bed. They heard a horrible, agonizing scream, and so did every other patient in the unit that night. After that, they said that you could hear the words, "Don't let me die," being whispered throughout the unit. Every one of the nurses that night was pale and scared. Nobody went anywhere by themselves. By morning, the whispers of "Don't let me die" were gone. The night shift nurses had a prayer session in the break room before they left for home. They all had nightmares for weeks. Sue said that she had an older male patient who had a massive heart attack and ended up on a ventilator. She said that he was the meanest man ever. His granddaughter worked at the hospital and had apologized for his behavior. She told the nurses that he had always been quite a rounder. He would bite, kick, spit, and had to be restrained to keep him from pulling every line he had out. Sue said that they coded him 3 times during his stay. After the 3rd time, his demeanor changed and he became much more cooperative. The nurses explained the change as a bit of ICU psychosis that had resolved. The man became a frequent flyer in their ICU, coming in multiple times with CHF and becoming a regular at their outpatient CHF clinic. Sue said that he became a favorite. He was always smiling, laughing, and joking. One day he asked Sue, "Do you remember the first time I was here? How awful I was?" She assured him that she did indeed remember. He then said, "Do you know why I changed?" Sue replied that she didn't, but that she just thought that his meanness was related to his illness. He said no. It wasn't that. He said, "The last time you guys brought me back when my heart stopped, I woke up and remembered being in this very dark place. It was awful. It was totally black, and there was this awful smell of sulfur, and the heat was terrible." He said he called out and no one answered. He said that he remembered hearing that when people die and come back, a lot of them see a light and other good stuff. He said that he was scared that he didn't see a light and knew that he had to change. He lived a couple more years after telling Sue this story, and then he finally died in their ICU. Sue said that she has a feeling that he saw the light and the good things. At least, she hoped.
If you ever see these, run and call for help. First up is this hairy caterpillar. Now, it might look harmless, but this caterpillar can cause extreme
That caterpillar looked like Trump's toupee.
pain if touched. It has hidden toxic spines underneath its fur. These can penetrate the skin and deliver a sting that, according to many people, is unimaginably painful. It causes swelling, a rash, and has even sent people to the ER. We also have the death stalker, which is the deadliest scorpion in the world. Its sting causes severe pain, fever, coma, and an inability to breathe due to fluid in the lungs. It's especially dangerous to children who can easily die from its sting. If they don't sound bad enough, they also often take on snakes and eat them. The only way to survive a sting is by immediately going to the hospital. Finally, the box jellyfish is one of the most dangerous living things on Earth. Its venom is extremely potent and can kill a victim so quickly that there's nothing that can be done to save them. Scientists advise to avoid all jellyfish while swimming simply to avoid.
You ain't mess with no jellyfish.
Japanese
force.
yokai, Neo Ijizai, the back scratcher yokai. Neo Ijizai is a priest staff that has turned into a yokai after many years. It resembles a back scratcher. Its only power is the ability to scratch the itchy spot on your back that you can't reach. Every dad in the world need this.
This is a
I need
true
one of them
horrifying
over here
story,
right now.
part 25. Warning, this is not a joke. The information that's going to be shared is dangerous and life-threatening. Do not, under any circumstance, commit the actions that will be narrated. This is the world's most dangerous book ever, Shams al-Ma'arif. This book was written by Ahmad al-Buni in the 17th century. But technically, the author of this book is not a human being. I never did and will never read this book. And this is your second warning. Do not read this book. Ahmad al-Buni practiced black magic, and he was in contact with the most powerful jinns and demons before he passed away. The jinns were the authors of this book. The elder generations, like our moms and dads, have heard about this book, and they were warned by it. There are thousands of horrifying stories of people who read this book. Shams al-Ma'arif explains everything about black magic, how to get in touch with the world of jinns, how to marry a jinn, and the sacrifices you have to do for the devil, and much more. Unfortunately, this book can be easily found online. One day, a Saudi Arabian man that read hundreds of books for a living decided to read this book specifically out of interest and love for all books, without fearing the consequences behind it. He reached the chapter that teaches readers how to get married to a female jinn. He laughed about it. He tried the ritual to experiment it. The first night after finishing the whole book and completing the marriage ritual, he felt someone breathing next to his face. And on the second night, he felt a hand touching his feet. And on the third night, he heard her voice. The man was officially locked in a marriage with a demon. 5 years go by. He met a normal, beautiful woman that he fell in love with, and they both decided to get married. A week before the wedding day, the bride, the bride's parents, and the groom's parents all pass and die in 3 different car crashes. These are the consequences behind this book. And it's also known from many stories of people that have died from reading the first few pages. If you don't finish reading the book, you will get killed. All my stories, all of them, are true incidents that happened one time only. But this book is a product that is permanently available online. I beg you, do not go anywhere near Shams al-Ma'arif. This video is to educate.
I feel like when people say, do not read this book, it just is going to make people want to go read that book even more. Like, why even say it? Why even advertise the book? You know you want us to go read the book. Y'all gonna go read the book? I don't know.
Educate you on the dangers behind this book. Do not go anywhere close to the world of jinns.
So I think I know what this person's referencing. Many years ago, somebody caught this leprechaun or Dobby looking thing outside of their home on camera. Many said it was a leprechaun, but it really did look like Dobby. So let me play that video for you guys right now if you haven't seen it. Many people thought this video was hilarious because why is this thing hitting the chicken dance? A lot of people also claim that this thing was some sort of alien. And of course, nobody believed that because why would an alien travel across the galaxy to hit the chicken dance in front of someone's home? Others speculated, as mentioned before, it was a leprechaun, something like Dobby, or some kind of elf. And of course, others said this is completely fake and it's just some skinny kid wearing a Dobby mask. I think whatever it may be, the walking pattern and everything is just really strange. Why does it move like that? This video is about 5 to 10 years old. They did an interview with the homeowner in 2019 and she says she still doesn't even know what this thing is. So I guess this mystery is going to remain unsolved today. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below and comment for what you want to see next.
These are normal photos with disturbing backstories. Just a broken old watch? This blackened watch frozen at the precise moment 8:15 AM when the atomic bomb struck Hiroshima.
8:15? If y'all look at my profile picture, you'll notice there's an 8:15 there. I see that number a lot. It's crazy.
A mysterious mark on these steps. This nuclear shadow of someone who once sat as an atomic bomb exploded just 850 feet away.
What you doing over there by this fence at night?
This just happened. An Illinois man has been arrested for torturing and killing at least 6 kittens and replacing them with lookalikes in his apartment. Here's the full story. This just happened, episode 23. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. On July 10th, 2023, Thomas William Martell, a 22-year-old man from Chicago, Illinois, turned himself into police after his girlfriend discovered that he had tortured, killed, and replaced at least 6 kittens with lookalikes over the past 3 months. The brutal killings involved methods such as drowning, squeezing, mutilation with a sharp object, and even microwaving. Martell turned himself in and is charged with 2 felony counts of animal torture and 4 felony counts of aggravated cruelty to animals. The girlfriend became suspicious when someone sent her a video of Martell tossing a pillowcase into Lake Michigan, allegedly containing a kitten named Shelly. The girlfriend never saw the kitten again after watching the video. Authorities found one dead kitten in Martel's apartment in the Wicker Park neighborhood of Chicago in a plastic bag, but it appeared to contain parts of multiple kittens. Disturbingly, Martel had named all of the kittens Shelly, and he replaced each kitten with a lookalike purchased from the famous online classified advertisement company Craigslist. Prosecutors revealed that Martel had told his girlfriend he enjoyed killing cats and claimed to have had this tendency since he was 8 years old.
Wow.
The girlfriend witnessed him killing 4 kittens and later found graphic photos and videos on his phone showing him torturing the last cat, captioned, "Just before I murder her." During a bond hearing, prosecutors outlined the pattern of killing and replacing the kittens. Martel's defense attorney stated that his client was planning to start a new mental health treatment. Martel was released after posting a $75,000 bond with the condition to wear an electronic monitor and not have any contact with animals.
You're gonna be getting people next.
Lavender Town. Pokemon is a very well-known adventure game that shaped the childhoods of multiple generations. They had books, TV shows, movies, merchandise, just about everything you can think of, they had. So why am I talking about such a positive, adventurous family video game on this channel? This is because of one of the darkest stains on Pokemon's legacy, Lavender Town. You see, Lavender Town was an urban legend surrounding a town that was in the best Pokemon game, Pokemon Red. You see, the whole Pokemon Red game had a very adventurous, fun vibe around it. You would hear happy songs and you see a lot of like fun people and just battle against other Pokemon trainers. But the entire vibe changed once you entered Lavender Town. There's a gigantic graveyard within the city, and above all else, once you step into the city, you're greeted by a haunting song.
I'm about to go play this game later, y'all.
And this song is actually the center for this entire urban legend, because it was reported that this song actually caused 100 Japanese children to themselves in the spring of 1996, which was around the release of this amazing game. Now, it's commonly believed that this was just a myth, but I guess we'll never really know.
There is a haunted Barbie doll in Singapore. It's located in Pulau Ubin, otherwise known as Granite Island in Malay. The island used to have a population in thousands, but today there aren't even 40 people living there. What remains is the spirit of a German girl. There lived 2 German families in Pulau Ubin. 1914, the British started detaining the Germans as they were considered the enemies of the crown. A military force was then sent to Pulau Ubin and the Germans were then detained at Tanglin Barracks. The young daughter of one of the families ran away into the woods and disappeared. Days went by not able to find her body. She was eventually found by Boyanese plantation workers, but she was covered in ants. They concluded that she died by falling off a cliff near the quarry. They buried her in sand, laid flowers and chanted prayers. She was then reburied by Chinese workers on top of the quarry. Whatever happened to the family is a mystery, but there are a lot of reported sightings of the ghost of the girl by the villagers. A quarry company then built a permanent shrine for the girl and it was known for good luck. Offerings were given such as makeup, perfume and nail polish. In 2017, an Australian tourist started to have dreams about the girl. She then directed him to a stall with Barbie dolls. He bought the Barbie doll and came to Singapore to place it at the altar. The Barbie doll is said to be holding the soul of the girl and became an important part of the altar.
The ghost.
Hey, with that new movie out, y'all better be careful purchasing all them Barbie dolls. Y'all don't know what kind of soul might be up in one of them mubs.
Ghost of Dungeon Lane.
Hello, you join me on the secluded roads of Lancashire as we set out to find Dungeon Lane, said to be haunted by a ghostly girl.
Now, the rather unassuming road I'm about to take you to is said to be one of the most haunted roads in England. Let's find out why.
Now, some drivers travelling along Dungeon Lane have reportedly had to slam on their brakes when they see the vision of a young girl brushing her long black hair on the floor. But when they get out the car to check if she's okay, they soon realise she's not of this earth.
But where does she originate? Well, I'm about to tell you. So let's go back to this same area, but in the 17th century. A young woman's husband was away fighting in the war, and news reached the village that he was killed in battle. So, the local blacksmith was the one to carry the news to his now widow. The weather was absolutely horrendous as he headed up to the old manor farm in which the girl lived with her father. Upon breaking the terrible news, the woman was hysterical and ran out into the pouring rain with her hairbrush, the last present she had received from her late husband. She made it to nearby Dungeon Lane, named after the old prison that had once stood in the area. Sadly, the terrible weather conditions got the better of her and she perished face down in a puddle. Ever since then, her ghost is seen in the road brushing her long black hair. So if you see her, don't stop.
Okay.
I was only 11 when I started seeing black figures roaming the apartment I live in. Before I go to bed, I would pray to God that I would not hear these figures whispering throughout the night. One night my cousin had slept over my house, and we were both the same age. While we were settling down to go to bed during the sleepover, my cousin asked, "What's that noise in the kitchen?" The kitchen isn't super far away from my room, so if anyone were to open the fridge, you would hear it loudly. I tell her it's nothing, and we eventually fall asleep. I wake up to a loud talking in the living room around 3 a.m. It's always gonna be 3 a.m. which people like to call the devil's hour. There's a reason for that. I notice my cousin is not on the bottom bunk on the bunk bed in my room. I go to the living room and see my cousin sitting in the corner of the room. Fuck no. I go to the living room and see my cousin sitting in the corner of the room. It's all dark and I hear her saying, "No, I can't. No, I can't," over and over. I had never asked her anything about this shit that I witnessed. I always would think about this situation and think something was telling her to hurt me, herself, or anyone who was asleep in the apartment. I'm 14, almost 15, and I never discovered the truth of what happened that night. The crazy thing is, 1 year later, my cousin's dad died, and his case went cold. No evidence if he had a heart attack. If he went missing, just nothing. This makes me think my cousin has something to do with it.
How many kills do these fictional characters have? Like,
y'all think that his cousin has something to do with the dad passing away or going missing? Because the mother was in the corner talking about, "No, I can't. No, I can't." Yeah, that was a crazy story right there.
or you will have to fight Caillou. Whoa! No! How does Courage have 239 kills? Ain't no way, man. This man was afraid of everything. He got me afraid of everything.
52.
Somebody fact check this. He can't even count to 50. He can't even count to 0. There's no way, bro.
Today's true crime fact that you probably didn't know is that these two cousins were named the Hillside Stranglers and murdered 10 young women between 1977 and 1978. Angela Buono and Kenneth Bianchi both tortured their victims and then dumped their bodies in different areas of LA. And during their killing spree, the cousins kidnapped their next victim but quickly let her go when they realized who she was. They discovered that this woman's father was Peter Lorre, a legendary Hollywood actor, so they let her go because they feared that killing a celebrity's daughter would bring too much attention to the case.
The Titanic never sank. On a freezing night in April 1912, the unsinkable ship Titanic sank, but some people whisper a different story. Instead of the Titanic, its twin ship, the Olympic, plunged into the icy Atlantic Ocean. It all started when an unexpected collision of the Olympic with the HMS Hawk left the Olympic in dire need of repairs. To not lose money, the White Star Line decided to disguise the damaged Olympic as the brand new Titanic and sink it. They went to great lengths to carry out this scheme. They covered the Olympic's tile floors with carpet to hide footprints, swapped out cabins, and even made changes to the portholes. Only a handful of people knew about this switch, and anyone who spilled the beans risked losing their jobs. There are even tales of high-profile passengers, like J.P. Morgan, who mysteriously canceled their trips at the last minute, and suspiciously valuable cargo being removed just before the voyage.
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. Scaphism is an ancient Persian execution method that entails the victim being laid on their back between two fitted boats with their head, hands, and feet sticking out. The victim is then forced to eat and is covered with milk and honey to attract flies and vermin. The boat is left out on the water, exposed to the sun, until the victim dies.
That just sounds.
You know how dangerous Mount Everest is? Like 10 people die on Mount Everest every year. Every year? Every year. If you climb Mount Everest, you will see bodies on a regular basis. And then it's so dangerous that nobody brings the bodies back because it's too hard to bring the bodies down. There was this story that I had saw online, and it was this group of people and they were talking about it. They were like, they went on Mount Everest, they were climbing up to a certain point, and they heard somebody screaming for help, a lady, like in the snow. And they were walking by and they saw her and they could have helped her, but they said it was too dangerous to pick her up and help her. So they just kept going up the mountain to their checkpoint. Wow. And then they left her, and then she ended up dying, and then they went and asked who went on this trip and didn't make it back. Wow. But think about it. People who climb on a regular, they say, yeah, that's the things you see.
Do you think a lot of people know about that?
This is the worst amusement park accidents ever.
Why would you stand underneath the thing? Like, did you lose your mind? He lost his mind, literally.
Literally.
A lot of people know the movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Most people know him as, like, he's this slasher with a chainsaw, this big, like, dumb dude, but he's super strong, and that most people know him as, right? What most people don't know, it is actually based off of a real story. This guy named Ed Gein, right? Ed Gein was born in Wisconsin, and he grew up and he was super isolated, like always by himself. People described him as like a weird dude. Like he was very, always like by himself. Ed Gein started grave robbing. He used their skin for like stuff around the house. He used their bones as like utensils, and he has been confirmed to have killed at least 2 people. But they think it's upwards of 10. But they just can't prove it because it was so long ago. But yeah, so he was arrested, and the scariest part about it, though, he did not serve 1 single day in jail. Not 1 single day.
They let him out?
No, so he was found innocent by way of insanity, and he was sent to a psychiatric ward where he lived out the rest.
What happened to this mysterious lost language? There is a legend that a universal language exists that transcends all beings, regardless of their native tongue. It is said that this universal language was so powerful that it also held the key to communicating with beings of other realms and worlds. Well, you might think it's all just a legend, but in Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, it says, "Now the world had one language and a common speech, and only after humans tried to build a tower to reach God were we all made to forget this language, dividing the people." Furthermore, in the Emerald Tablets written by Toks, it confirms that this language, even though lost, still exists, and if we hear it, you will instantly recognize it and understand it. It is also rumored that the reason why people who go through alien abduction start to lose their mind is that when abducted, this language is forcefully downloaded into our cerebral cortex, letting us hear and understand everything, everywhere. Even though linguists and archaeologists have searched for this language for many years, many are still unaware that it.
So the universal language, in my opinion, is a language unspoken. There is no words. And everyone in the universe can speak this language. But when he says everyone forgot, you gotta face it. Most of the world's not spiritual anymore. Period.
This is why you don't go into caves that are barred off. Check this out.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Did y'all see that?
Go.
What? So the story behind this video is that this couple was exploring in Utah. They came upon an old mine entrance, and as they ventured in, they came upon this iron barred gate that seemed to be keeping people out, but perhaps it was designed to keep something in. Now, I'm not sure what the creature in this video is. It could all just be a simple hoax, a video edit, but other people are saying that it could be something like a skinwalker or Wendigo. I don't think it's either of those, honestly. It reminds me more of something like a pale crawler or a rake or a ghoul. What do you think this thing is? Make sure to leave a comment and like and follow.
Man, I don't know. Something I don't want to see.
Let's talk about the haunted Snow White statue. This was highly requested, so let's talk about it. Now make sure you stay till the end because I have 2 creepy videos to show you, okay? Just letting you know. So user Alan Mora posted this video on June 3rd. The video went viral with about 8 million views. Now in the video, he says that he's walking in El Reino Mágico in Veracruz. And then this happens.
Ese no es el velador, güey. No. No, aguanta, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es el velador. No digas perras mamadas, güey. No digas perras mamadas, güey. Miren. No digas mamadas, güey. No, 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 Yus. No, 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 no.
Pretty creepy stuff, but I have something creepier. So in the early 2000s, my favorite Mexican paranormal show actually covered that same Blancanieves statue. And in the video, she blinks.
Oh, snap.
Now, the reason why the statue is said to be haunted is because Reino Mágico, the park where you can find that statue at, according to locals, was built on top of a graveyard.
El espacio que hoy es ocupado por columpios y juegos infantiles solía ser el resguardo de mausoleos, lápidas y cuerpos humanos que descansaban eternamente.
Anteriormente fue un panteón.
But later they wanted to make it into a cute little park, so they asked some locals to come and pick up their family members' bodies, but apparently some of them did not. And apparently you can still find some of these forgotten family members there. Honestly, this is kind of a sad story. Like, if there's still people buried under there, that is so sad. Also, why do we look like we're twinning them?
She had a change of heart, but sadly, it was too late. In 1970, 16-year-old Carol Lee Kanoki ran away from home, dropped out of high school, and was renting a room in this building. On October 11th, she announced at her 17th birthday celebration with her family that she wanted to move back in, return to school, and even get a job. She was very excited about this and planned to do this in the next 4 days or so. But just 2 days later, tragedy would strike before she could do so. It was October 13th, and her friend, 18-year-old Marianne Weaver, decided to pay her a visit. But Marianne ended up walking in on an unimaginable sight. Inside, she discovered the body of Kara, who had been raped and murdered, with the unidentified man still inside. He shot and killed Marianne, and 53 years later, the case still remains unsolved. The mansion was originally built in 1890 by lumber baron John Mowat for him and his family. Over its long history, it changed ownership multiple times. Following the murders, the property was left to decay, eventually becoming condemned by the city of Denver. It wasn't until the early 90s that it was completely restored and turned into what it is today. The Lumber Baron Inn is now a bed and breakfast. It is also allegedly visited by the spirits of Kara and Marianne.
That's creepy. I ain't trying to have no bed and breakfast there.
Morbid Facts, Part 65. Martin Luther King Jr. was tragically assassinated when he was just 39 years old. However, an autopsy revealed that he had the heart of a 60-year-old, likely due to stress. When actor-comedian Red Fox was dying of a heart attack while on set, nobody offered to help him. This was because everyone thought it was nothing more than the fake heart attack skit he was famous for. This super eerie Twin Towers ad from 1986 speaks for itself. Jeannie Wiley was locked in a room for 13 years by her father, who claimed he wanted to keep her safe from the outside world. He kept her tied in a straitjacket and would bark at her like a wild dog if she made any noise. When she was finally rescued, doctors said she had the cognitive abilities of a 1-year-old baby. This photo was taken by a paramedic in 2015 outside a California hospital. It shows an ER doctor who went outside to cry for a moment after losing a 19-year-old patient. Minutes later, he walked back inside with his head held high and continued on to his next patient.
Morbid Facts.
If you have a feeling like somebody's watching you, this could be why. Employees of an electronics store in Brazil have been complaining of an ominous presence while alone in their shifts. After bringing up their concerns to the store owner, one day, while reviewing the security cameras, they see this.
Oh, you see it moving? I'm about to give me some camera.
What looks like a thin white figure can be seen walking by. The employees believe this thing is the reason why they felt such an unsettling feeling while working there.
What y'all think that thing was? It looked like a ghost or something. Or what if it was somebody who had a sheet on a string and was just dragging it through the store and they just set the whole video up? I don't know, but it makes me want to get some cameras around my house because I don't want any ghosts or anything You know what I'm saying, around my environment. But yeah, guys, these are some of the most creepy and scary TikTok videos that you should not watch before bed. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe, turn your notification bell on, and until next time, YouTube, peace.